Howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome back. This is episode 292.
Yeah.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect. But actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator.
I could retire and do that. I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do. Hey, Who fans. Welcome back to another week. Hope you're all keeping safe and healthy. You've had a cracking week. And that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related.
Related, yes.
Indeedy. 292, bud.
These weeks are flying by. What's going on?
Yeah.
There we are.
Yep. December is upon us, Crimbo week, as we rattle through the lockdown weeks here in the UK. Nothing exciting going on there. It's quite quiet, which is good. So no apocalyptic news. So hopefully things are on the up. The old vaccine rolling out. It's good news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. We've also seen a few Doctor Who fans lose their minds this week, which is really funny.
Really?
Yeah, I love seeing these random videos on YouTube. It was brilliant. Yeah. So one person put a video out on YouTube. I've forgotten the YouTuber's name. I'm very sorry. Because it's the only video I've ever seen of theirs. But basically said that Jodie Whittaker's agent has recommended that she jacks in, that she throws in the towel on Doctor Who for the sake of quitting while she's ahead, while she's on top.
All right.
Which was really cool. And then, as you would expect, the comments just went berserk. And then somebody picked up on it on Twitter, and it was just hilarious, mate. So, apparently, whoever Jodie Whittaker's agent is, have said, while Doctor Who is at its best right now, you should go. So there's a number of things wrong with that. I'm not going to get in... Well, depending on your opinion, there's a number of things wrong with that. I'm not going to get into that right now, dude. But it was one of those weeks where I was like... This is just 2020
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah. If there was ever a year that there was going to be a video like that, it's 2020.
I think it's also, I remember seeing a bit of that on Twitter now you mention it. I think it was also fueled by the fact that I think Jodie had said in an interview with, I think it was SFX magazine, that she was going nowhere. She's like, no, I'm loving it. I'm not even looking for other work at the minute, I'm just, really enjoying being the Doctor and stuff. So I think that was sort of circulating as well. So these sort of two things combined, and fandom. What is it about when someone's cast as the Doctor? Almost immediately, people are like, "Well, when are you leaving?" Because I remember Matt. Yeah, they all get it, don't they? Chris got it. David got it. Matt got it. They all get it. Like as soon as they're announced, how long are you staying for?
Yeah.
No, tell us now.
Yeah, David Tennant said that.
Yeah, very informal. Your old mate Dave.
My old mate
you
Dave.
got a photo with him.
Yeah, all right, mucker. What you fear? Yeah, David Tennant said that in one of the behind the scenes on one of those Doctor Who confidentials. I think it was back in series when he was going through the specials. They did like a couple of really good interviews with him, and he said that almost word for word that it's a strange old thing being cast as the Doctor, because as soon as you're cast, people want to know when you're leaving.
Yeah,
which is so true, isn't it? They, like you said, they did it with Matt Smith. Like, how long are you going to stick around for then? It's like, well, I've only just got the job, so I don't know yet. It's a strange old thing, isn't it?
It must be difficult because they obviously don't want to get sort of typecast, and they want to move on to other things. Because some Doctors, were quite successful. Peter Davison, I mean, has managed to get loads of work before and after Doctor Who. I think Tom Baker has said in interviews that he struggled after Doctor Who because everybody associated him as that part, and he did stay a long time, didn't he? So I think he said he struggled for a while to get work. So it's difficult to know when to jump ship, isn't it, really? And I suppose with David, it must have been difficult because he's such a big fan. I think for him to give up that part, I reckon that was a tough. I can imagine him having sleepless nights over that because. If I, being a fan, if I was cast as the Doctor, I'd probably never want to let anyone else have it again. I'd be coming in on my Zimmer with my Sonic.
a Sonic Zimmer.
Yeah, Sonic Zimmer. Yeah, I'd be there forever. So it must be a hard job to make that decision, I guess.
Yeah,
I reckon she'll be there at the 60th at this rate. I mean, God, the way things are going, we'll be at the 60th before we know it.
Yeah, I guess it depends, I suppose, on your outlook on things. I remember when David Tennant spoke about him and the decision to leave. I think he said something like that when he was first cast as the Doctor and for all of the time he was on the show, it didn't feel like a job. It felt like just this amazing thing that he was able to do. And I think he said when it starts to approach that feeling of, right, this feels like I've got a job, that's probably that's a sign, like a really early sign that you should think about going. But for other actors, I'm not sure. I don't think Matt Smith's ever spoken about it publicly, like the reasons behind his decision to go. The same with, we know why Chris Eccleston left. That was a whole thing. So yeah, I'm not sure about Matt, but it's hard to say, isn't it, with Jodie, because you wonder how much other influence, how many other influences are in play. So it's not, I imagine it's not just a case of, well, it's good for you that you feel like you're really happy in the role. However, we've got these other reasons over here, which I think it's one of those, when some actors leave roles, are they pushed or did they jump?
Actually, yeah, that was leading me into slightly controversial territory, because I was going to say, don't forget about Capaldi, because although he says it was his decision to leave, and I'm sure it was, I think he must have made that decision. I always feel from listening to like the interview with Capaldi when he was on Radio 1, when he broke down in tears, and we hear that when Chibbers took over, he had a set plan that he was surprised the BBC went with, and he only ever was going to cast a woman and all this stuff. So I kind of feel like, although I don't think they told Capaldi, I don't think Capaldi was sacked, I feel he felt, I don't know, I always get the impression that he was sort of made to feel like, yeah, it's time you moved on, mate, we're moving in a new direction. And I'm just judging that on interviews I've heard of him, things he said at conventions, so that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's always the impression I get, that he was not sacked, but sort of, this is what we're going to be doing next with the next showrunner, mate, and you don't really fit into it, but obviously you can continue if you want to, but but there's the door, sort of thing. Yeah. That's a very harsh way to put it, but that's kind of the way I feel, because he was really upset in that BBC interview, wasn't he? He broke down and he was so emotional about leaving, and he said something at LFCC, and I just thought, yeah, it just kind of backs that theory up, but I forget what it was. He seems to have sort of completely sort of moved away from the part. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't really see him involved in it at all. It's like, I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but that's the gut feeling I get as well. But I hope not, because I really love Capaldi's Doctor, and I don't think he realizes how much he's loved in fandom. I think he feels a little bit like Colin. He feels he didn't quite get a fair sort of crack at it in a way.
Well, he didn't. He did. Let's be honest, he didn't, did he?
Yeah. Well, they changed his Doctor so much, didn't they? In his 3 years, they kept trying different things, and they made him grumpy at the beginning, which I think they should have stuck with. And then they tried to make him cool by playing a guitar and giving him the hoodie and the Sonic shades, and they kept messing him around. And they should have just, by series 10 though, I think they just started to get him right.
Yeah, it's too late by that point though, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he was already, filming his regen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting old thing,
Doctor.
Yeah,
Well, I wonder if that'll ever come out.
Well, it's a real shame, because out of all of modern Doctor Who, I'm not talking about current now with Jodie's era, out of all of Eccleston through to Capaldi, I think Capaldi's era is the stuff that I watch the least. And it's not a reflection on Capaldi's performance. Well, him being the Doctor. It's just that they screwed him around so much with, the consistency is all over the place as you watch his, was it 3 seasons, 3 series that he did?
Yeah.
They're so different. And in a way, that's not a bad thing if you're going to do different things with the show as a whole. But just how he is portrayed as the Doctor and how the scripts were written for him, they're all over the place. Like if you watch an episode from his first series versus even in the next one, his next series, they're 2 wildly different performances to a degree. And and it just feels like, and I hate saying that because he's such a wonderful guy, and he's a great actor and he was great as the Doctor. But I just find that the Capaldi stuff, mate, I watch that the least out of all of the modern Who stuff.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't go back and watch much of his, but I think it's more to do with Clara with me, because every time I think of an episode, she's so prominent in it. It puts me off. Because I sort of think, I just think of her like throwing the TARDIS key in the fire. I'm just like, I don't want to watch all that stuff again. And the stuff with Danny Pink and even stories that I think, shall I bung that on? I then start remembering bits in it that have got Danny and Clara, and I'm like, nah, actually, I don't think I'll bother because I don't want to be watching all that stuff again. But it's not really to do with Capaldi. But no, I do find it intriguing though, because I can't help but think if he wasn't sort of gently nudged out the door, if he wasn't, then how would it have worked if he had said, actually, I fancy doing another year? How would that have worked? Would they have chosen a different showrunner? Because Chris has said he was very definitely wanted to go. He'd got his own vision, female Doctor. He was only ever going to audition, women for the role. So how would that have gone if Capaldi had said, actually, I fancy doing another year? Like, what would have happened? I just don't know. I think there's definitely an interesting behind the scenes story there somewhere, but whether we'll ever know what went on,
there definitely is, mate. Because it's not,
because Moff was gone. He was already being like, he wanted to go, he was sort of more or less forced to do Twice Upon a Time, wasn't he? He was sort of told, well, if you don't do that Christmas special, that's why Capaldi was supposed to regenerate at the end of whatever the story was, where he's lying on the floor shot by the Cybermen. That was the original regeneration, and Moffat changed it because he was forced to write that extra special. So Moffat was out the door. Mm-hmm. So it just, I wonder who else was in line to take over as the showrunner. Yeah,
it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I think it's it also stems back from, I don't know, it feels like back in the day, like in retro television, in older years, throughout the 70s and 80s, a certain actor had a lot more power over a show. Like if you think back to all the stories we've heard about Tom,
I know, I was thinking Tom.
And it's not just Doctor Who though, like there were a lot of programs, like British TV programs back in the day. I imagine the same for the US as well, with things like Dallas and, I don't know, Knight Rider and stuff like that. Like the lead actor holds quite a lot of power. Like if he says, I'm doing another series, then everyone has to do that around what they want to do. I don't feel like that's the case these days. I feel like it's very much like with Capaldi. I'm pretty much with you on that, buddy. I reckon that he was nudged because he didn't fit in with their vision. It's like we've got a new plan for Doctor Who. We've got a new showrunner lined up.
Yeah.
The only snag, Peter, I'm very sorry, is that he'll only join and jump on board if it's a female Doctor. So you're clearly not female. So that the only options left is the door, mate. Don't let it hit you on the way out. Thanks for being the Doctor. I reckon that was the case, but you're right. It's really intriguing, and you don't want to pry too much, but at the same time, you want them to spill the tea on what's going on. But you have to remember, this has happened in all of Doctor Who, like back in the Hartnell years. That was shown really beautifully in An Adventure in Space and Time.
Yes.
That meeting at the end with Sydney and Hartnell. Sydney Newman, and he's like, it's just, even talking about it's heartbreaking.
I just think that is so emotional, that scene.
Yeah. And he's like, we're going to continue. We've got all these cool things. And he's like, oh, great, but not with you.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's a very similar thing that they did with Capaldi. It's like, we've got all of these new grand plans. Female Doctor, new companions, new showrunner. It's all going to be amazing. Just unfortunately, you don't fit in with those plans. So, Peter.
I wish I hadn't mentioned that scene. It's got me. The bit that gets me actually is after that, the scene in the TARDIS when he's getting he's sort of looking around him and everything's changed and he knows he's leaving. That. Oh man, that is such a good drama. Such a good drama. Yeah, I don't know. We'll never know what happened with Peter. We'll probably never know, and we can only assume. So, listeners, if you're screaming at us, telling us we've got it wrong, we're just going by stuff we've heard and things that have been said in interviews. Who knows what went on during that transition from Moffat to Chibnall? It was certainly a big change, and I'm sure there were things, said and done, but we'll never know. I mean, I have heard that Chibnall was only ever going to cast female. I think he said that, didn't he? I think we're right in saying that. That was his plan, wasn't it?
Yes, all along.
But,
yes.
Yeah, all along. But who knows? We'll probably never know.
Indeed, mate. Yeah, and also don't forget Colin. He was publicly sacked.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the worst one of them all, isn't it? It's the way I think Colin's probably been treated the worst of any actor to play the Doctor. I think. Well, I mean Hartnell was harsh, but Colin, that was bad. Yeah.
It was harsh. Anyways, so we've waffled on quite a bit here about the ins and outs of hiring and firing various doctors over the years. A quick update from me on what I've been up to. I haven't read or watched anything other than Sarah Jane, but I've just lied there immediately. I did watch the other parts of the Daleks animated web series.
Oh yeah, I finished that up yesterday. It's the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I binge watched parts 2.
What do you reckon to it?
To 5. So
it's all right. It was all right.
Do you know what, dude? It was very cool. It was all right. The only thing is that I felt like there was like part 5 for me. So it was really good. The whole, and this is, if anyone hasn't watched this yet, this is a bit of a spoiler. So either pause, go and watch it and come back, or fast forward approximately a minute. I felt like the whole master plan that was revealed, where the Daleks wanted to take out the entity, and at the same time they wanted to take out the mechanoids because they viewed the mechanoids as like the other sort of threat.
Yeah,
that was all cool, but it kind of like part 5, and that was it. At the end, I was like, right, so what's next? What's happening now? And it was all a bit like, right, well, that's done. Like 4 parts leading up to that, and then it was.
No, I did feel a little bit like that as well. Cause it started off pretty good at 5, and then back on Skaro, and there's some nice stuff going on. But I was left a little bit underwhelmed, I suppose. But it was still better than I thought, though, because I remember when they announced that, thinking, "Man, that don't look good." Wasn't really too impressed by the trailer at the time, but it was quite an enjoyable little watch, and they're only 15 minutes an episode, aren't they? So they're quite an easy little thing just to bung on in the background. But I felt a little bit like that as well. I sort of got to the ending, and it's a little bit. It was just a bit like you said, like okay, what's next?
But otherwise, though, I thought the actual, as a kind of a little mini story, it was kind of cool, and I like the voice acting and stuff. Obviously, Nick Briggs doing his thing, and we had Anjali back. Rani, she was pretty good, and some other voices are pretty good. The only thing is, the animation was a bit up and down for me. Like there were certain scenes. Yeah, there was. Obviously, it looks like it had a very small budget, so we can't complain too much. But there were certain scenes where it looked beautiful, like some of the exposition shots and wide-angle things out in space, and like the panning, sweeping shots over Skaro and all that stuff. Some of it looked really nice, but then other things, I don't want to get too techie, but it felt like it felt like some of the strategist Dalek, his outer casing and stuff was all beat up and had dents and scratches all over it. But the textures that they used were low resolution. Like some things were quite high resolution and really sharp and looked quite good, but then other things, they loaded in like real low. I imagine that's just a limitation on whatever design software or pipeline they were using. But so it was up and down. Like some shots looked really good, and then other shots it was, but
it felt like it was like they were rushed or something to me. It felt like it was unfinished, if you know what I mean. In terms of the animation, like they'd managed to get certain bits. Yeah, that's great. That's brilliant. That's ready to go. Now I just need to sort of do this scene now. Well, we haven't really got time, so do it quickly. Oh, and it just felt that, like you said, there was no consistency to it. Some shots looked lovely, and then there'd be an explosion that looked like it was from like the 90s sort of computer game. And it's an odd one, but I got past that pretty quick. But I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, you do get past it, but story's not a bad little thing. It's I like the little twists that were in there, like the strategist Dalek going off with the mechanoids, and the Supreme Leader thought that he was betraying them and all that stuff. And
it was cool to have the mechanoids back.
It was.
I liked that. That was cool because it was a good face off at the end between the two of them as well. So not too bad.
Yeah. Other than that, dude, I haven't watched any other Who. Have you been up to much?
No, just briefly. I finished that up yesterday, same as you. I watched that, and I did listen to the first story in the the 10th Doctor and River Song Big Finish box set that I said I was looking forward to listen to.
Yeah,
I was really disappointed, dude. I mean, I've been really looking forward to cracking that set open. So it's a 4-disc set, but there's 3 stories in it, and I just thought it was going to be fun because the Tennant stories that I've listened to on Big Finish so far, he's great, and he is, to be fair to him, he's really good in this one I listened to. But so I listened to the first story, Expiry Dating. Now I know a lot of people don't like River, but I don't mind her. I think she could be a bit annoying, but generally I think she's quite good fun, and I thought her and the 10th Doctor would be great on audio. But this first story, she is written to be excruciatingly annoying, and David's great in it, but God, it was a rubbish story as well. Our reviewer, is it Matt? I forgot his name.
Mark Donaldson.
Mark. He summed it up perfectly. I think he said it's like a sort of opening sketch that Moffat would have written, stretched into an hour-long story, and that's absolutely what it is. Sort of the story behind it was just pretty weak, and River was driving me insane by about halfway through. She was being so. It's basically just her and the Doctor keep trying to sort of do one-upmanship on each other pretty much throughout the whole story. And that's fun for about 2 minutes. But it's literally the whole story, back and forth, them trying to sort of outdo each other. And she's just written to be so annoying. I was so disappointed. I was really looking forward to but I really hope the rest of the set's better. Because they're all 3 stories are written by different people. So I'm hoping the next one's better. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this set.
Oh, dude.
It was rabbit. I mean, I was literally, there's the bit that really got me. And again, it's a spoiler. So you listener, if you haven't listened to it, you might want to jump forward about 30 seconds. There's a bit where the 5th Doctor turns up and he's all falling over River as if he's in love with her, and he's apologizing that, you haven't returned my calls, and he's doing all this stuff. And I'm thinking, that's not the 5th Doctor. It just doesn't, so out of character. I found it quite annoying. So yeah, right. So I nearly switched it off halfway through. I was thinking, I'm really not enjoying this, but I've paid good money for it. I'll finish it. But I didn't get a lot out of that. So
not good.
I will move on to the next one and hope it's better, because this was a set I was looking forward to, dude. Tennant's brilliant on audio. I mean, no complaints in the department from him. He's the only good thing in this story. And he's brilliant in the other ones that I've listened to, like the one he did with Tom Baker was a great fun, really good little story. But no, sometimes Big Finish just don't hit the mark, do they, mate? I think their output is so big at the minute that they do really good stuff, but every now and again you're going to get one that's just a bit falls to the wayside, I think. This is definitely one of them.
Defo, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the only thing I've done really, is I listened to that, and Doctor Who mag plonked through the letterbox yesterday. I haven't had a chance to read it, but it's got a nice picture of Jodie in a red prison outfit on the cover. So it's always something cool about the Doctor not being in his own costume. I don't know what it is. A bit like the Doctor in Black Orchid when he puts on the Harlequin costume, or the 10th Doctor in the space suit. It's something cool when he puts on a different costume, isn't there? So yeah, I do like the cover, but no, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But I shouldn't think it gives much away anyway about the special.
No.
It says on the front, exclusive, exclusive reveals of the special. I was like, yeah.
You won't have anything, mate.
No, not that I really want any anyway. I want to keep it all. But that's been me, mate. That's been me, pretty much.
Alrighty. Okay, well,
big finish.
Yes. Right, so we haven't got any news this week, but we have got one piece of merch to go through, and then we're on to our review of Sarah Jane Adventures. Before we crack on with that stuff, though, do remember to subscribe to our show. It's really easy to do so. Whatever app you listen to your podcasts on, just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast. Or if you head over to our website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, you can find links there off to those various podcast apps and networks. We'd love to have you as a sub. That way you won't miss a show when it lands every Friday. We are on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Again, there are links on the website, or just do a search for us on there. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week, so come and get involved over there. We have a free Discord server as well. Lots of Who chat every day over there, so come and hang out. Links on the website. And talking to the website, we had a couple of cool reviews that landed over the last week. So as Adam's just mentioned, we've got our review of the 10th Doctor and River Song from Big Finish. That was by Mark. And we also had a review of the Time Lord Victorious book, The Night, the Fool and the Dead, which was reviewed by Jordan. And we've got a few other bits coming up over the next week or so as well, which is going to be good. And lastly, also remember to check out my co-host channel over on YouTube, which is The Geek's Handbag.
See, I'm a YouTuber, ain't I? Do a bit of YouTube.
He's a bleeding Who-tuber. Actually, that's not true, because you don't do just Doctor Who. The majority of your stuff is Who, but you do the odd review and unboxing of other stuff as well. Actually, go on to Adam's YouTube channel and find his unboxings of his Titan figures. It's really funny watching him. Well, when he's going through the Doctor Who ones, it's really funny. The whole, I've got like 1 million of River Song, please not any more River Song. But then some of the other ones are, some of his other ones are really good as well, for like Ghostbusters and Alien and stuff. So just tons of really cool videos over on Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag, and he's on the socials too, under the same name. So go and give him a like and a follow, and we can all chat about Doctor Who and other science fiction related stuff.
Yes, indeed.
Or sandwiches. Whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't matter.
Salami sandwiches.
Yeah. Right, let's see what old Tat's got this week.
Oh, yes.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Well, there you are, young man. What do you think of that now, a Viking helmet?
I know, it's on the telly. It's everywhere.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
I work in a shop now. Here to help.
Oh, Colin. Where's that from? I don't know, to be impressed or disgusted. Where's that from?
Answer on a postcard.
Yeah. I thought you'd know because you put the trailer together.
Yeah, I did know. I did know, but that was
just forgotten.
Well,
I just think, is it a TV or is that a Big Finish?
No, it's TV.
It is a TV, is it?
Yes.
This will be one of those moments where people are screaming it. I love it when
of course, yeah, I love that. Yeah.
They'll be like, Adam and Gary, it's you fools.
Yeah.
You fools.
Yes, it's from a TV show.
Or disgusted.
Yes.
Yeah. So answers on the postcards. There's no prize.
So this bit of upcoming merch that Dalek Tat has very nonchalantly just popped on the floor and buggered off.
Practically just let it fall on the floor.
Yes. We will let viewers decide whether to be impressed or disgusted with this based on your comments about Big Finish a few moments ago. But coming up in the year 2022, which sounds like a long time away, but you never know. Actually, it is going to be a long time away. I'm not kidding anybody here. September 2022.
Blimey.
Yes. The 10th Doctor is back at Big Finish, believe it or not. He's a busy chap, David Tennant, isn't he?
He is very busy at the minute. He's
Bloody
everywhere. God.
Crikey.
He'd be able to buy a new car soon.
Yes. Yes, he'll be able to get some food in the fridge. So they've recorded this now already. So this is one of those stories that have been recorded during lockdown, as they are forced to do these days, but it's not out for a couple of years yet. I imagine that's because they've got some really big storylines coming out from Big Finish over the next year or two, with the 10th Doctor and stuff. So anyway, this is a new box set that's out in September 2022. It's going to comprise of 3 stories, but more importantly, which is I hope is going to be very cool, is it's going to feature the 10th Doctor working with some older companions, which sounds very cool. Yes. So this is a bit of a nostalgic trip down memory lane for the 10th Doctor as he teams up with companions of his previous incarnations. And he will team up with K9.
Yay!
Leela, Ace, and Nyssa. And this is not going back in time to hook up with them. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? This is not going back in time to have an adventure with those guys while they are companions as we knew them with the Doctor, because that would be very timey-wimey. I'm not sure how they get around that. This is the Doctor teaming up with those guys long after the Doctor's gone and they're a bit older and so on. And yes, this is called the 10th Doctor Classic Companions. And you can pre-order it now. If you want the CD, it's 25 quid, or the digital download is 20 quid. The 3 stories are, the first one is called Splinter, written by John Dorney, and the Doctor finds K9 floating in space and sets off to clear up Time War fallout. Mm-hmm. First, they find Leela protecting a village from the Spriggan.
I can already hear David saying that. The Spriggan.
The Spriggan. Oh, yeah. Oh yes, the Spriggan.
The Spriggan.
Next one is The Stuntman by Lizzie Hopley. And the Doctor and K9 enter a virtual world of a movie stuntman to help Nyssa escape a Time War criminal's scheme. And lastly, Quantum of Axos, written by Roy Gill, is around Ace investigating a new tech company which seems too good to be true and meets the Doctor and K9 as Axos escapes its trap. So Axos back. Yeah. From the depths. So it's 3 stories there that 2 of them sound pretty good, and one of them, yeah, dude, I'm not going to put a downer on this, but I am going to say very quickly, we are still talking about the Time War.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So other than that, it could be cool. And then just a little bit of blurb, just very quickly. So the producer, Dave Richardson, says, we took our cue from School Reunion for this one. What would it be like if the 10th Doctor met some of his past companions later in their lives? The result is 3 emotional, exciting stories that cut to the core of Doctor Who, about moving on but never forgetting and always embracing the past. Which sounds good. Tissues at the ready.
Nice. Yeah.
And then David Tennant himself says, it's been one of the great unexpected delights of being locked in one's house for months on end, that this was something I was able to do. To be not only doing all of these wonderful stories, but to be appearing alongside people like Louise Jameson, John Leeson, Sarah Sutton and Sophie Aldred. It's been just such a treat. I've loved it. It's always such a lovely thing to return to, this show.
He loves it, doesn't it? You can just, we've said this before, when sometimes when an actor gives a bit of spiel, it just sounds like someone's written it for them. We just know that David is loving this. Because he doesn't need to do this stuff, does he? Let's face it. He's got plenty of work. He's just doing it because he loves it.
Yeah. Do you know what, buddy? I think we have somebody who is very similar to Tom Baker with Doctor Who, because there was a photo that Big Finish put out on Twitter recently, yesterday or the day before, and it was Tom Baker, 86 years old.
Oh, yes, yeah.
In his front room, got his laptop and his microphone all set up, still after all this time, playing the 4th Doctor. It was just beautiful to see. And I think that David Tennant is going to be the same. I think in his 80s, he's going to be sat there, microphone on, still doing Big Finish, still doing 10th Doctor stuff. I honestly think he's just the lifelong, just loves everything about the show, which is evident because he seems to be really busy with Big Finish these days. So, what do you reckon, dude? Yeah, what do you reckon? So, a bit of classic companionship for the 10th Doctor.
Well, I'm really liking the sound of this because you've got three of my favourite old school companions there. You've got Ace, who's probably one of my all-time favourites. Leela, I absolutely adore, and K9. I think this is great. I'm just sad it's not out till 2022. It feels so far away, but what's scary about that is how quickly it will come round, because every time Big Finish announce one of these sets and it's like, yes, it's not out till 2021, and you think, oh my God, that's ages away, and here we are, almost in 2021. So, but yeah, I'm up for this. I'll definitely get it. I think it sounds a lot of fun. I like the sound of it, especially what the producer said about it being an emotional ride about embracing the past. I think hopefully they'll nail this one. It sounds good. Talking of the lockdown pictures, the three that they've put up are great. So you got Sophie in a little, looks like she's in an airing cupboard.
Yeah.
And I mean, she could have put away
sound reducing foam panels everywhere.
She could have put away her underwear though, just tucked in the corner.
It's not a rug.
What is it?
It's towels. It's folded up towels.
No, underneath. Look, it's like a bra or something, isn't it? Anyway.
No.
Yes, there is underneath.
It's not
Look.
a bra.
What is it?
I don't know. It's just like linen and stuff, and a jacket and stuff.
Anyway, then you've got Louise. Then you've got Louise in her booth with the dog. That's a lovely picture. That
in her boob.
Booth.
Oh, booth. I was going to say, bloody.
Get your head out the gutter. And then you've got David Tennant looking kind of scary, like wide-eyed, like a wildcat. I mean, I'm not sure I'm a bit worried by that picture. I mean, this looks like a man going off the rails. I probably wouldn't want that picture floating around if I was him. But anyway, he's obviously chased that.
Dude, that photo of David Tennant says to me, ignore what I've just supplied as a comment for this story. I'm actually about to jump out the window with all of this recording stuff I've got to do.
He looks crazy, crackers in that picture. But yeah, three nice lockdown pictures there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and
two nice ones and one quite scary one.
Yes, and a stark comparison to Tom Baker's picture. Now, I would imagine from whoever the audio engineer is at Big Finish, they probably love these actors that we're talking about now, because Sophie's picture, as we said, lots of fluffy foam panels, so the audio is probably nice, and there's no reverberation. It's all nice. Louise Jameson, I'm not sure if that, I don't think that's her home studio, but she's in a recording studio somewhere.
Yeah.
So loads of panels there. David Tennant, he's got a pretty good home studio. Lots of panels, lots of drapes and curtains to deaden the sound. It's all good. Tom Baker's picture, he's in a massive room with loads of glass windows, ceilings and stuff. So I imagine that the audio engineer's like, oh, I love you, Tom, but I'm having to do loads of work on your audio. So yeah, I reckon this one could be really cool, dude. And if you're a fan of K9, that's going to be good because he's in every story, which is good. As long as they don't stick too heavily to the whole Time War thing, then it could be a really good one.
Yeah, I was going to say we don't need any more of that in it. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right, that's all the stuff we've got to update you on from the world of Doctor Who this week. It's review time now, buddy. What we got?
Yeah, so Sarah Jane Adventures this week with a two-parter called The Empty Planet.
No! What's happened?
Where's Sarah Jane?
Well, where's everybody?
It's the whole world.
Everybody's gone.
What about Mr. Smith?
Well, he's gone blank. Like he's not even in there anymore. What if it's just the two of us left in the whole wide world? There! What is that? It's on every screen. Clyde! There's this big robot thing!
Yeah, I saw it, big and yellow.
Big and red.
And how are we supposed to deal with two big robots? These robots can clear everybody out of the whole world except for the three of us. And now they've come looking for us. Come on, come on! This whole thing now makes even less sense than it did before there were any robots.
The Empty Planet. Such a good theme tune, dude.
Yeah. The music's always good at Sarah Jane, actually.
Yeah. The Empty Planet. Part 1 was broadcast on the 1st of November 2010. And part 2 went out the next day on the 2nd. It was written by Gareth Roberts, directed by Ashley Way, and stars our normal attic crew that we've seen so far for quite a while now. And minus a completely minus strikeout for Luke. No Tommy Knight in this one.
No Tommy Knight this week.
And it's actually a bit of a Sarah Jane light episode, this one.
Oh, very, yeah.
Yeah. So, story for this one is Clyde and Rani are apparently the only survivors of the human race. The whole of Earth is empty. Even Sarah has vanished. A deserted London holds terrors of its own, mainly in the form of two mysterious and menacing robots. So, the empty planet, dude. Give me your thoughts immediately on this one.
Immediately. Yeah, very Sarah Jane like this one. She's only in like literally the beginning and the end. It's one of those. I think it could have done with Tommy Knight in this, even if he'd just been on a computer screen talking from Oxford, because I found this one a bit hard going, to be honest. It's probably one of my least favourite stories that we've watched from Sarah Jane, and it's still good. I mean, it still goes to show how fantastic Sarah Jane Adventures are, because I think in any other series this would probably be a good one, but because the standard is so high, every story in Sarah Jane we've watched through all 4 series up to this point have been so strong. I just found this one a bit weak. It's still good. It was still a fun watch, but it took a while to get going. And when it did, there was a lot of running around the same locations between the 2 episodes, and it was very predictable. That's the thing. I could see everything that was coming a mile off. And the thing I've liked about Sarah Jane is that you can't underestimate it as a children's show. You can't just say, oh, yeah, it's the stories have got a lot of care put into them. They often have some nice little twists that you don't see coming. This one, I just saw it coming a mile off, that they were after the kid. And yeah, it didn't do a lot for me, to be honest. I thought on the plus side, it was really nice to have Clyde and Rani together. It gave them a chance to have their own little adventure. So I like that. And I love the fact it was all about what Sarah Jane had taught them, and they managed to figure it out. But they just handed the boy over at the end. I thought they didn't even question it, and things like that. It just felt a little bit half-baked as a story. There wasn't enough there to sustain my, to keep me watching for the 2 episodes. I was just getting a bit bored throughout it. So it was okay, but it's probably one of the least favourite that I've watched so far in this Sarah Jane journey. I just found it a little bit filler, to be honest. And it is hard because obviously it's following Death of the Doctor, which we reviewed, which is such a great 2-parter. So to follow it with this, even though we've had a couple of weeks break between the 2 stories, I still found it a little bit filler, to be honest. But yeah, it was okay. It was still a nice watch, but it's probably one of my least favourite that I've watched so far. Didn't really do a lot for me, to be honest with you. I do like the robots, though.
Yeah.
I do like those guys. I thought they looked good, but yeah, it's a bit of a sort of mid story for me. But the thumb's sort of half in the middle, not down, not up. It's just in the middle.
Okay.
What do you reckon?
Okay, so yeah, I quite like this one, mate.
You like this one?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best of SJA. Certainly not. However, I did think it had a cool. It kind of deals with that. There was 2 cool elements to this one for me. We got to see a little bit more of how Clyde and Rani are actually, how they actually feel for each other. That was, that was one of the things that they weaved into the narrative, wasn't it? It wasn't about the attraction between those 2. So they. I don't mean that. Too obviously, because that was quite on the nose, but just how it felt like they were more sort of suited in real world situations. And so what I mean by that is you obviously have the like I said, the attraction thing, but there was like a few moments where Rani got a little bit snappy with Clyde, and he got a little bit, well, actually, I'm in charge because I've been here the longest and all that sort of thing. It's had a little bit of so you can see that Rani, because she's so worried about, her parents going and the rest of the world and everything like that, she's like frustrated and she's also just worried, and so that comes out as like it's almost like they're trying to. Well, I don't know if they tried to do this, but it was almost like when you're in a relationship or you're with somebody or a close friend or whatever. Sometimes because you're so close to that person, it almost gives you a free ticket to be a bit snappy. At times, you don't really mean it, but because you wouldn't be like snappy to somebody that you might meet out in the street 10 minutes later. You would never dream of being sort of humpy and snappy. You're a bit more, your polite manners are up and stuff like that. Whereas those two, because they are so close and they're obviously getting a little bit closer, dare I say it, romantically, of how they feel for each other, they do feel comfortable enough to be like, oh, shut up. It's that kind of like, you're getting on my nerves today, just bugger off. Whereas you couldn't do that with just anybody. So I like that. And then you also have this other big thing. Now, this is the thing that I'm reasonably impressed with, because when you have this like global emergency, a post-apocalyptic thing, normally it's very difficult to do in real life, even for feature films with quite a lot of money. So to have, and I know they only did it with one street really, they must have closed off the street and then all of the set dressers made it look like people just literally just vanished in mid of what they were doing, whatever. And then we have supermarkets and other bits, and there's a bit when they're up on the top of a car park, I think they're looking across London.
That was done well. How did they? Because I'm assuming they superimposed London, but that looked bloody real. I was thinking. I even questioned. I was like thinking, surely they didn't go to London for that one shot. I was like, obviously not. But it really looked like. Don't know. They matched the two scenes well. However, they did that.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was I was impressed with that, and the sound design was really good as well. They had this real eerie kind of just emptiness to everything. You just heard like birds singing, and that was it. No planes in the sky and all that. Oh, that was another good thing as well, because when you go into that stuff, if you really want to dive into the details, you can start questioning, because Clyde brings it up. He's like, if people have just been plucked away, why aren't planes falling from the sky? And, all this jazz. So, and they start talking about, okay, well, people must have been taken at a certain point where they were literally just doing nothing. It seems like, or there was like a time freeze or something like that. So I was really impressed with that, because even though they only did it on a small scale, it still felt like the world was desolate and everybody had gone. And that's really hard to do, because if you've got plenty of money, like there was that horror film 28 Days Later, that's years ago. Yeah. They did that whole thing where they literally closed all of the like a massive stretch of the M1 motorway, which was really expensive, timely to do. And they did certain parts of London as well, where he's walking through, and
by Big Ben and all that, it's all deserted.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of money and time to coordinate that and get it done. So the fact that they couldn't do that to such a larger scale, it still felt it like they'd achieved the effect of making it feel like everyone had been taken away, apart from those two. So I think there were some good things that I did like. The whole, even though it was a Sarah Light story, I did like the concept of Clyde and Rani having to do it, because there was a couple of times where they questioned, we're doomed, like we can't do anything, Sarah's not here. And they were like, no, we've got to do it. Clyde's like, what did Sarah always teach us? Like, look at the logic, try and figure out what's going on. So they kind of get back into it and stuff. So they help each other out and stuff. And like you said, the robots, they look very cool. Really well done, actually. You can tell, obviously, it's a dude in a robot suit, but it was really well done. So, yeah, I liked it, mate. Yeah.
They reminded me a bit of Hydroflax, that suit that he wears in the Christmas. Or are they a bit like the robots? Mitchell and Webb voiced two robots in. Is it Dr. Widow and the Wardrobe they're in? I can't remember, but they looked very familiar. I felt like I'd seen them before. I just wondered if they were reused or something. But I like the look of them. I knew it must be Paul Casey in one of those robot suits. That name, he's been in every Doctor Who as a robot or monster, isn't he, Paul Casey? And sure enough, he's the red robot. No, I liked all that stuff. I really did. I mean, I thought it was nice, because I really like the characters of Clyde and Rani, and it's nice you're getting to see their friendship has grown, and I wouldn't say there's a romance, but there's a little bit of a sort of sparkle between them in that department, if you like. But because there was a funny bit when, bless him, Clyde, I think Rani said something about, Adam and Eve. And Clyde's little face lights up thinking, yeah. And she's like, absolutely not. And he's like, okay, then slaps him right back down.
She does,
yeah. I mean, it was nice. It's Clyde, Daniel Anthony does a great job as Clyde, and he gets some nice moments in this. I think the pair of them carry the episode quite well. And it must have been nice when they got the script. They probably realised that they're really pushed to the front, and it's all about them. But so that was all good. I loved all that sort of stuff, and I liked the quiet scenes because Sarah Jane's quite we mentioned the music. You always get lots of music in it, lots of action music, lots of running around. So it's quite nice for it just to pause and be silent, and it really stood out, I think, because of that. Because Sarah Jane's always got so much going on in it, for it to just stop and be quiet like that was done really, really well. So yeah, I liked all that stuff. I guess what I didn't like really was the sort of conclusion, because I knew as soon as that kid's introduced, it's got to be him, because why else would he be the only other person left? So you're thinking, okay, so it's got to be him. What's the twist going to be? And then the robots ask for son and heir. Now that I did like. I love the play on words. So they think the robots want the son and the heir, as in oxygen, but of course he's talking about son and heir. Now that I did like, because I thought that's a lovely little play on words. That
clever,
clever. But I think just the fact they just accept that that's true and then hand the kid over without even thinking twice. I suppose it's just to wrap the story up quickly, but I don't know. I just found it a little bit predictable and, as I said, a bit underwhelming, really. But then again, what saves it, and this is what's lovely about Sarah Jane, is so the story's wrapped up. Then we get, and they do this quite a lot, a lovely scene between Rani and her dad at the end. And then obviously Clyde's all cocky because he's the king. They've been named king and queen, haven't they? The king and queen?
I think it's Lord and Lady, isn't it?
Lord and Lady, sorry, yeah. Lord Clyde. So that's lovely. You get that lovely little scene at the end, which leaves that nice warm glow in you. So this is what I mean. In any other series, I think this would be a good one, and you'd say, oh, that was a nice episode. But I think because the bar's been so high in Sarah Jane, I just felt it was a little bit weak, really, compared to some of the others. But this is what's good about Sarah Jane. It always delivers moments like that and sort of brings the episode up a bit, if you like. So it's a lovely ending. What I want to know is, where's Geeta? I miss Geeta. I know she could be over the top. We've said it. She's over the top and she really goes for it. But I'm missing her because clearly the actress is not around, because they make a few excuses. She's mentioned. There's photographs of her on the wall. She's clearly supposed to be there, but I reckon the actress is obviously off doing other things because she's not in it. And I kind of missed it. I was waiting for her to come in and be like, Rani, my darling, where have you been for an hour? I was waiting for her to come in, but she doesn't. But it's all left down to the dad instead, who's very good in this, by the way. He delivers a very nice, subtle performance, I thought. It's lovely, the scenes of him and Rani, where he's really sort of caring about what's going on with her and stuff. So, yeah, where's Geeta? She must be off filming something else.
Yeah, she's probably on holiday. As
she could be. Well, yes, maybe her and Sarah Elizabeth Slater went on holiday this week.
Yeah, you're right though. She does provide a bit of sort of nothing too deep comedy to what's going on. But so because you couldn't have her also, because with Rani's dad being very loving and like caring and all that kind of stuff, you couldn't have her mum do that as well. So she would definitely be there just to provide a bit of comic relief, really. So you can see why she wasn't exactly needed, but yeah, he was really good though. So Rani's dad, sorry, yeah, he was really good at the beginning and at the end, really. But what was cool about his performance at the end was that you can feel that he's just on the cusp of like
working it out.
Yeah, he's like, something isn't sitting right here. And even though Rani's like, no, it's all good. I'm probably just went out or something or whatever. He's like, oh no, that doesn't that doesn't make sense. And
Doesn't
she's like,
add up.
don't worry, I'm going to get in the shower, otherwise I'll be late for school. And he's like, all right. And then she walks out, and then he's got that look back on his face again. He's like, oh. So, like, you can tell that his brain's like really eager to sort of solve what's not sitting right with him, but he just can't, because like everyone else on the planet, he was removed and put back, so he can't piece it together. It's great.
Why I'm laughing at is what I love about it is that he's trying to work it all out, and then she's like, who are you with? And then Clyde boulders in. He's like, oh, she was with me, and he's like, instantly the disappointment. He's like, oh, of course she was. It's like he's so disappointed that she's hanging around with Clyde. He's just such a lad. And the thing is, I love the character of Clyde, because he is such a lad, and he's a bit, he's a bit hopeless and whatever, but he's got a good heart, and they do this thing where this is another thing that Sarah Jane does so well. They bring in these little moments. So there's that bit where he's with his mum, and he's drawn the creature from the previous story, the big buzzard thing.
Oh, the Shan-Sheath or whatever they are.
The Shan-Sheath. So he's showing scenes like that where he's like, doing his artwork and stuff. And it's such a rounded character. I mean, you totally get Clive. He's a joker, but he underneath all that bravado and stuff, he's got a really good heart, and he's clever as well. Like, him and Rani work all this stuff out together from what they've been taught from Sarah Jane. So it's a really rounded character. All of them are really, but because he gets a lot of the humour, I think that's why I sort of warm towards Clyde, because he gets a lot of the funny one-liners, which is easy to think, oh, he's just a joker, but that there's more to him than that. Mm-hmm. So that's what I like. But it's just what made me laugh is when his dad's like, "Oh, you were with him, were you?" Of course you were. It would be Clyde, wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, he puts his feet up, and he's got the ring. He's all cocky. Stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's part of the wider plan, I think, as well, for Clyde, because it is quite sad that people view him like that, especially Rani's dad, because he actually says in this episode, he's like, "I don't know what you see in that Langer boy."
I know, yeah, like dads would.
Yeah, so I don't think he's too worried, as in, I don't think he feels like those two are, an item. But I certainly feel like he's worried that they're going to grow closer than what they are. Yeah. Yeah. But to counteract that, we do have some stuff that they've written in for his character that try to push him away from that. Because when we first met Clyde ages ago in Sarah Jane, he was very much the hanging out with the cool kids, bit of a lad, stuff like that. But as the series has gone on, each one, and we've got to this point, and probably a bit further on, there was that scene in this episode where he says, "I don't really see much of my old crew anymore." Like, if it was me, it's like normally, my mate would text me and say, "Oh mate, there's this fitty like down here. You've got to come and check her out," sort of thing, and I'd be there. I'm paraphrasing, and now he's like, but now this whole thing with Sarah Jane, and I wouldn't change it now for the world, sort of thing. So I think they're slowly trying to keep his cheekiness and his humour, but they've moved him away from being your typical lad and hangs around with other sort of laddie sort of characters. So I think it's a good way, and it almost makes you think, right, if only Rani's dad could see those moments, then maybe he wouldn't have such a downtrodden feel about Clyde, because the only thing that he sees Clyde as is the class clown a little bit. Clyde wants to have a bit of a laugh and a joke in the classroom. So Rani's dad only sees him as the headmaster of a school looking at a lad that's just mucking about a lot of the time. He doesn't see those lovely moments that Clyde has when he's talking about stuff like that. And I think that's and I think that's what, like I said at the very beginning, that's what makes this episode kind of cool, because without Sarah being there, it gives those two plenty of time to progress not only the little romantic side of things, but also just because they have that really cool, like, Stephen King's It sort of moment, don't they, where in Stephen King's It, the kids who save the town, I suppose, they call themselves the Losers Club. And in this, they call themselves, I think it's the Sarah Jane Hangers-On or something like that. They give them,
there's that bit,
so they give the Hangers-On of Sarah Jane. So they give themselves this kind of derogatory label, even though they're not really like that anymore. Like they're really valued by Sarah Jane, and like even though she tries to say, because she still has that moment where she's like, look, I'm worried about you two. I don't want you to end up like me, where you've gone through all this and you're alone and all that stuff. And they're like, no, we'll be fine. So, and then as they're sort of trying to solve who these robots are, because there's a bit at the end where they high five, and they're like, yeah, not a bad situation from the hangers on sort of thing. So there's loads of really good character stuff in this one. It's like quite light, like you said, on action and all that stuff. But yeah, for that reason alone, I quite like it. But I can see why you think, and I'm the same. It's not like one of the best.
It's not one I'll go back and watch anytime soon, but it is one that I would happily sit and watch. If that makes sense. Like if it was on the TV, I'd sit there and watch it. And actually, I might enjoy it more because I think when we watch an episode for the podcast, you're looking for things to critique, and rather than just watching it, if you see what I mean. And that's the thing. It's like if it was just on the TV, I'd quite happily sit there and find it a nice 50-minute watch, really. But it's just because we're reviewing it and comparing it to other episodes, it's just not quite up there. One of the things I wasn't sure about was why they were the only ones not taken as well. And I know they do explain it. We get this flashback to the Jadoon episode. But I didn't get it, and I maybe because I'd slightly zoned out a bit, but I wasn't 100% sure why they were the only people left on Earth, apart from the kid. What was the reason for that? I mean, I think they did sort of throw in an explanation, but kind of went over my head.
Yeah, so I think so back in that story with the Jadoon, they were grounded by the Jadoon. So in that story, so they were forbidden from any travel from Earth by law of the Jadoon. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I imagine that this whole planet and race of people that this kid Gavin is the heir and the rightful king of, it sounds like, which is a wonderful thing that Doctor Who does sometimes with all this interconnectivity. I imagine that they're aware of the laws of the Jadoon and stuff like that. So Clyde and Rani are forbidden from leaving Earth.
Right. Oh, actually, that's quite cool. I saw the Jadoon. I just didn't put it together, two and two together. I wasn't paying attention enough, but that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, It's kind of cool. Yeah. So they're like, okay, we're not allowed to take those two people off because they're forbidden from leaving by laws, intergalactic law, I suppose. Yeah,
because I mean, the Jadoon are a big thing in terms of law, and like, you know, every episode they've been in, whether it's Doctor Who or Sarah Jane, there is like, even the Doctor says, you just don't mess with the Jadoon. You know, they are a law enforcement. So,
yeah,
you know, these robots are probably programmed to recognise that. So that does kind of work, actually. I think maybe I should have paid more attention, because that might have helped me enjoy the story more, because I kept thinking all the way through, well, why are they the only ones not, like, taken? So, yeah, that's a cool it's a nice little flashback to that episode as well. That's a nice way of, again, linking in the continuity of all the episodes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's cool. And what did you, I know we've spoken about him briefly, but what did you think to the character of Gavin then? Because out of everybody and every location and country in the world, the one who we think is just a normal human child or teenager has been left literally mere streets away, conveniently, from where Clyde and Rani are in London. So I found that a bit convenient, because that person could have been anywhere on the entire planet.
Anywhere in London or planet, yeah.
Yeah, but it just so happens to be just a few streets away, which is handy. So a little bit of convenience there. But what do you think to that character then? Because, like you said, it was obvious, wasn't it, right from his very first bit? Because Clyde kind of goes into detective mode immediately. He's like, those photos, it looks like, you know, a family that doesn't really know that their son exists, kind of thing. And, you know, it kind of gives, we have to remember that Sarah Jane was aimed at younger viewers when it went out on CBBC. So they probably need, you know, kids maybe just need a little bit more of a steer to, like, think about, okay, is this Gavin character, is he what he says he is, just an everyday kid, or is there something more? Like, why is Clyde saying that? So, but yeah, I felt he was kind of okay. Gave them the slip fairly easy. But at the end, like you, the same thoughts as you had. They kind of just throw him to the wolves.
They just hand him over, yeah.
Fairly easy. I mean, I know he's not going to his death or anything. He's going off to rule a planet as a king, but...
It could have been a trap, though. They're normally a bit more cautious than that.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. They're normally a bit like... Because at the beginning, Rani's like, no, we've got to save him. We've got to save him and all that stuff. And then at the end, they're like, right, you've got to take this ring off. Because that was kind of cool, the whole... Because it was that thing, isn't it, that
Perception thing.
The biodamper, which we saw later on in The Runaway Bride, or previously to that, sorry, The Runaway Bride, which is kind of cool. So they're like, take this thing off, bugger off, that way all of our loved ones and humans can come back. So there was a bit of a switch, wasn't there, at the end? It was like, we need to save him, protect him from these robots, and then, yeah.
I thought he wasn't too bad, actually. Joe Mason as Gavin, the little kid. He wasn't a bad little actor, considering, some child actors are dreadful. He played it quite well. What I do like, though, is the exchange between Clyde and Rani just before that you mentioned, where Clyde has picked up about all the stuff about the family. And he's like, he didn't have any DVDs, he didn't have any kids' games, there was nothing. And then Rani, and you then think, yeah, that's true. Well, why is he not got any of that? But then Rani throws the other side of the argument, saying, well, not everyone's lucky enough to have all those things. And you think, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. So I thought that was a nice exchange as well, that, Clyde assumes because he hasn't got all this stuff, something's wrong. And Rani's saying, well, not every child is lucky enough to have all the things that we have. So think about it that way. And I thought that was a good little sort of bit of writing, because it just made you think, because you see Clyde's side of the argument straight away, and then when she throws that back in your face, you sort of feel like you're in Clyde's shoes. You think, oh yeah, I suppose, yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that. Maybe he is just a sort of kid who's not as fortunate as everyone else. So yeah. you do for a second think maybe he is just human and just unlucky, and there's going to be that, that side of the emotional storyline. But no, it goes down he is an alien after all sort of thing. But yeah, he wasn't too bad, was he? Old Joe Mason as a kid, he kind of, when they're in the cafe and they're sort of having their, he keeps saying, why do you keep using these words? I don't understand. Jadoon, what is it? He was quite good in that part. He wasn't sort of irritating, or you didn't sit there and think, God, he's not very good, is he? He was all right.
Not too bad, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't too bad.
Yeah. It was the robots that were cool. For me, then.
Yeah, the robots are cool. I mean, they obviously add the excitement element to it, don't they? When they smash through the cafe window, that's pretty cool. And something about the head movement, because they've got that weird head, it makes them quite creepy, because they're quite cumbersome, so they can be quite jokey, quite comedic. But there is something sinister about them. I think it's just because it's that weird head movement that they do. Just going back to the kid for a second as well, I almost forgot. I really like the bit, because Sarah Jane, obviously not the biggest budget, but there is a lovely bit where we go into the kid's eye and see this world. And there's like a CGI shot of him running through a field, and this sort of world is in front of him. They're sort of running towards it. That was a nice moment. I mean, the CGI just not the best, but it looked nice. It just looks very fairy tale. I liked that bit. So that was a good little moment.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, that was a really cool little moment, and I think that was really needed to visualize.
I was just going to say it definitely needed it, because up to that point he's just a kid, isn't he? It's like, well, he looks like a human, doesn't he? So it needed that to take us into the other world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was good, mate. I was just going to follow up with the robots. Any of our viewers that were teenagers or kids back in 2020. I'm not sure if this is an intentional thing, or if this is just a bit of, Ashley, Gareth, Russell, we're really struggling to come up with some designs for these robots. It's just not working. And someone said, well, go and watch this TV program called Mission 2110. Now, Mission 2110 was a kids game show that went out on CBBC, conveniently in 2010, the same year this went out. And the idea behind it is that mankind is all but extinct. and there's only one person left on the planet, and he's being pursued by these robots called the roboids. And if anyone that's interested at all, just do a Google search for Mission 2110 roboids. Have a look at the images of the robots. There's one yellow one, there's one red one, but there's also one grey silver one as well. And the head looks almost identical between the two robots. So the concept of the story of this, plus also that game show that went out, is pretty much the same. But then also the design of the robots is very, very close. So I imagine there was a little bit of cross-show emails going to and from between the designers for Sarah Jane and this game show. But yeah, I don't know what to read into that, whether it's just like, okay, let's just use that concept. We'll just tweak the look and feel a little bit for our robots. But it's just interesting that the concept for that game show is almost the same storyline for this episode of Sarah Jane. Yeah.
I've just Googled it, so I'm just having a look at the pictures. Yeah, I do see what you mean. Definite similarity. Never heard of that before either.
Yeah, bit of a strange one, that. Not a bad thing, but I just picked up on it. I was like, those robots. Yes. Right, so the other thing was there was very light on music for the most part, which is not a bad thing. There was a couple of the usuals. The music was by Sam Watts. No big themes or anything in this one because there's no emotional scenes with Sarah Jane or anything like that, really. And there was a couple of typical actiony bits when the robots are after them and whatnot, but nothing else. And then just visually, direction and editing and stuff like that, it just felt like any other Sarah Jane story to me, really, which is not a bad thing because it's consistent. It always looks pretty decent. So,
yeah, no, it looked fine. I mean, I was going to say, I think it was. I was going to say probably one of the sort of more budget restricted episodes. They probably had saved the budget for the previous story, Death of the Doctor, which seemed to have a lot of costumes and stuff going on. This one's quite basic, but then again, like you said earlier, they utilise it well. You know, the deserted streets, the shot of London that they've managed to mix in. It visually it looked good, even though it's quite a sort of basic compared to some of the Sarah Janes. They definitely made use of it, and the direction by Ashley Way is decent. Like when the robots are smashing through the cap and stuff, it all looked good in terms of a little 50-minute in brackets kids show. It all looks very high standard, if you like, for that.
Yes.
So no complaints on the production side, and the direction side of it is good as well.
Yeah. No, agreed. Yeah. Right, scores then. Have you got anything else, dude?
No, I haven't got anything else, really. No, I'm pretty much summed this one up, I think.
Okay.
I think, is it me or you to go first?
It's you to go first, mate.
Me, is it?
Yep.
I'm going to go over 6 out of 10. It's okay. It was good little watch, but nothing special.
Okay.
For me.
Okay, no worries, dude. I'm going to give it a 7.
7
out of 10. Yeah, I quite like this one. I think there's definitely much better SJA stories out there, and we've likely got better SJA to come. But it was a decent watch for me, and I did like the character progression and building between Clyde and Rani. It was pretty good, and their performances were very good.
I have a feeling it'll be one I'll enjoy more on a second watch. You know, I think because you go into a Sarah Jane, and I always expect so much. I suppose I think if I was to just put this on and watch it again, I'd probably really enjoy it. But just it just didn't set my world on fire yesterday when I put it on. That's all. But it was still good.
I read you. Talking of Sarah Jane to come, very sadly, mate, we've got 5 more stories.
I know.
And that's your lot.
No, I realised this yesterday when I put the disc in, and there was just one disc left at the back of the box set. It was Series 5, and I thought, only one disc left. And I thought, we're reaching the end. Mm-hmm. And I just, I don't want to get to the end too soon.
No, I read you. Yep.
No.
Rightio. So it's a 6 from him and a 7 from me. What did our awesome listeners think? We had a few audio clips in, which is great. Thank you very much. Let's kick off with Mr. Joe Turner.
For me, this is a decent watch. I love the atmosphere of the episode, which starts from a gorgeous CGI shot of the Earth spinning. There's lots of noise, then silence, which is really, really effective. There is huge character progression for Rani and Clyde in this story. At the start, Clyde insists the problem is too big for them, but throughout they're incredibly perceptive, noticing how Gavin has very few computer games and pictures of his aunt and uncle, thus they are able to find out that he's at the nature reserve. I love we get to hark back to a previous episode when Clyde and Rani were grounded by the Jadoon. It ties in the episodes really, really well. The robot design looked good, but they did look a little too plasticky and could only do a fast walk like the Cybermen. Also, it was like the people inside were told to their best robot impression, and it wasn't always very, very good. Also, I found it a little too confined to specific locations like the high street clothes shop and Gavin's flat, thus I didn't always feel the global scale. Finally, the 5-second scene of Gavin's planet was beautiful. I loved the gigantic citadel and the spiraling planet. We don't often get to see that kind of thing in SJA, so it was really nice. Overall, it was a fun story which relies on Clyde and Rani to take the reins, and they deliver, showing how much they've learnt from SJA, and Rani was very good with that sonic lipstick. So overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. Thank you.
The sonic lipstick, forgot about that.
Yes, I thought exactly the same thing I meant to say. It was really cool that I like that Rani got that.
Yes. Yeah, nice one, Joe. A 7. Very cool. And also, the opening shot, the CG shot of the Earth spinning and all that stuff.
That looks really nice, actually. Again, very good standard for a show.
Yes. Yeah, cheers, Joe. Moving on, this is Mr. Matt Steele.
Hello, Gary and Adam, Matt Steele here again. Hope you guys are well and having a good week. So, this week, The Empty Planet. It's great to see Clyde's mum again, and Clyde's artwork of the Shan Sheath is amazing. I wonder if the series continued, they would have sent him down the whole scholarship route thing. The fact that they are freaked out by there being absolutely no noise at all only kind of works in cities. Try living in the countryside, the sound of nothing is normal. I doubt I'd realised anyone was gone for about a week. Is that the same cafe that they used in the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith when Luke met Mr. Dalton? The robots look really good for the time of production. I'm glad they made the actual costume instead of using CGI, as that probably wouldn't have aged as well. The evolving relationship between Rani and Clyde is wonderful to watch, and at last, very slowly, they're starting to see it for themselves. Rani and Clyde excel themselves in this story. This could easily have been a flop due to only using 2 locations and only 2 of the show's regulars. However, because they bring such strong performances, the whole story works perfectly. I think I'll give this story an 8.5 out of 10. Cheers, guys. I'll see you again.
An 8.5?
8.5 from Matt. Yeah, I agree with you, dude. That's what did it for me as well, with the performances from those two. And and like you said, only a couple of locations to work with, only 2 regulars from the show. It could have easily been, oh, crikey, this is awful. But yeah, it's pretty decent. So, cool, man, an 8.5. From Mr. Matt. Right, moving on. This is our regular from Down Under, Sammy Satine.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, The Empty Planet. Not much to say, really. This was a bit of a fizzer. The big clunky robot thing starts here. After this, we get 2 robots in dinosaurs on a spaceship, and King Hydroflax's body in The Husbands of River Song. At least here they serve a function. I do feel there is a slight pacing issue here. Feels like it drags a bit in places. Overall, I give it 5 big clunky robots out of 10. See ya.
Middle of the road for Sammy on this one.
Middle of the road, yeah. I had a feeling Sammy wouldn't be too fast on this one.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe the next SJ we get to, Sammy, you'll be more into that one. But yeah, a 5 from Sammy. Thank you very much. And lastly, this is TARDISNet 66.
The Empty Planet. I don't like this one. I think it has a kind of interesting idea, and I think the main premise and the first 15 minutes of the story are rather interesting. And I think the chemistry between Clyde and Rani is also rather good. But after that, it just kind of goes downhill, because I find the plot rather unengaging and uninteresting. And I think the robots are rather unoriginal villains, and they fail to be menacing. But the main thing that just stops me being able to enjoy the story completely is Gavin, just because the child accent is just terrible. I just get so frustrated and cross with the story because I can't enjoy his performance or his interaction with the rest of the cast, which stops me from enjoying the story. And he's just, I can't, all due respect to him, but I just can't enjoy his performance whatsoever, which really frustrates me. So I think there are much better Sarah Jane Adventure stories.
Poor old Gavin.
Oh dear. No score from Gavin, but essentially, I didn't like it.
I didn't think the actor was that bad, but yeah. I mean, not the best. He hasn't got any Golden Globes, but, you know.
Okay, so there we go. Not the so we had a couple of people that liked that on the audio reviews, a couple of people about not a fan of this one. Let's rattle through some of the socials. We had a few over on Twitter. Daniel Fox says, this has always been one of my fave SJA stories. I love Clyde and Rani's chemistry, and I adore the unique concept of the story. I especially love the build-up, direction and eeriness in part 1. 9 robots out of 10.
9 out of 10. Wow, okay.
Nice. Sam Dooley 011 says, one of the best SGA stories, absolute blast. The duo works very well together and have so much chemistry, it's fantastic. 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Been going back and listening to old episodes of your podcast while I work. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Sam.
Nice one. Cheers.
Jordan Shortman, one of our writers and reviewers, says, an interesting one that shows us that the great chemistry between Rani and Clyde and the actors. It also shows us how much they have learned from Sarah Jane, but an episode made because of Liz Sladen illness.
Oh, is it?
Coming next from Death of the Doctor was never going to be easy. That's very true, Jordan. Following up from that one. Thank you very much, buddy. Chippy T says, I remember watching this from a broadcast with my son. Thought the robots looked good, even if a little Transformer-ish. Nice story, a bit lightweight but enjoyable. Great character development for Clyde and Rani, a solid 7.5.
Cool.
And lastly, on Twitter, Sarah Louise, the running Whovian, says, this story was okay, but nothing special for me. It was good to explore Clyde and Rani's relationship further, and they worked very well together, but I didn't find the storyline very believable, particularly the ending where they are prepared to hand Gavin over without question. 5 out of 10. Yes.
That's what I thought.
Very true. Yeah. And we had just one comment over on Facebook. This is Joseph Howarth. Says, another great episode of SJA. It's nice that Clyde and Rani, not the Rani, Adam.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's nice that these two have got a spotlight episode and the world was saved thanks to them instead of Sarah Jane, because I really do like their dynamic. The robots kind of remind me of something out of Star Wars. Gavin was probably the only weak link in this episode. Otherwise, nice little mystery to solve and very engaging episode. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay, fair enough.
Coolio. What have we got next week, buddy?
Next week, fire up the Keller machine, because we shall be reviewing the third Doctor story, The Mind of Evil.
The Mind of Evil,
Mind of Evil, yeah.
I think this is one of the first Pertwee stories that I watched. I think I picked up like 2 or 3 of them together at the beginning, and I think this is one of them. I think
season 8 as well, so this will be on the new box set when it comes out.
Indeed, yeah. This is a 6-parter.
Is it 6 parts? Is it?
Yes. So grab some food, some snacks, and enjoy a bit of Delgado action in this one. Bit of master action.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think it's. I'm pretty sure it's Delgado. Yeah.
I hope so. I guess I don't remember a lot about this apart from the. Is this the Keller machine? I'm thinking the right thing, aren't I? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I look like a bit of Pertwee. Looking forward to that.
Yes. So that'll be next week. Right, but that'll be next
Sorry,
week.
I just googled Mind of Evil, and the first image that come up on Google Images is a really funny picture of John Pertwee pulling, those faces he pulls, like when he's got a tentacle around it. It's literally the first picture that come up. Sorry.
Yeah.
So look forward to that next week.
Old Pertwee, eh?
That's a great picture. That.
Yeah. Again, I think we're going to do there for 292.
Alrighty.
Episode 292 is over.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming back and listening for another week of the Big Blue Box Doctor Who podcast. Those of you that have just jumped on board, who have discovered the show, welcome. Big wave to you all. Thank you very much for joining. Long-time listeners, the Grizzled Ancients, welcome back for another week. It's great to have you all here as always. Right, so next week, as Adam said, our review is going to be the third Doctor story, The Mind of Evil. So get your DVDs or your BritBox app fired up. Give that a watch, because we'll be asking for your reviews as always. Thank you so much to all of you that sent in your reviews and audio clips for this week for the Sarah Jane story, The Empty Planet. Was very cool. But next week, yes, some per tweet action. In the meantime, until next week, head over to our website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows on there. Plus, we have our cool articles and reviews by our writing team, so go and check that stuff out. Or you can listen to our show on whatever podcast app you get your podcasts on. Just do a search for us, or there are links on the website. And if you've got a minute to leave a review or a rating for us, that would be amazing, because that helps us out loads and loads. And we had a couple of really lovely ones over the last week or two, so thank you so much to those people that have reviewed the show. That means a lot. Thank you. We are on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Just do a search for The Big Blue Box. You'll find us on there, or again, links on the website. And we have a free Discord server as well. So come and hang out and chat Doctor Who with plenty of other cool Doctor Who people. You'll find a link on the website for that. And remember to check out my co-host channel. Again, over on YouTube, it is The Geek's Handbag.
Yes. And I'm on all the socials. I love Instagram, Twitter, and, well, not so much Facebook, but I am on all of them. But I love Instagram and Twitter. They're my faves.
Yeah. So do a search on YouTube and Instagram, Twitter, maybe Facebook for The Geek's Handbag.
Well, I am on there. I just don't like it as much.
Yeah. The old Geek's Handbag. Get a drink, get comfy. Loads of cool geeky videos over there. Will keep you entertained for a couple of hours. So go and do that. Next week, Bud, we're going to go through The Mind of Evil, as we've said. So until then, take care of yourselves. And my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Allons-y.